Since the past 2 episodes, Agatha all along has moved all the action from Westview to the Witch's Road. As you know, Agatha is on a journey to reclaim her powers, traveling down the Witch's Road, a path that promises great rewards, but only after facing a series of frightening challenges. While we have seen magical trials before, the Witch's Road feels completely different from what we have encountered in the comics. While the rules are still a bit unclear, Agatha all along has made it clear that this mystical path holds new twists and surprises to shake up everything we thought we knew. Like much of the MCU, the Witch's Road actually has roots in Marvel Comics, where it has been used as a pathway between different universes, revealing itself to characters skilled in witchcraft and challenging them along the way. The Witch's Road has deep connections to both Wanda Maximoff and Agatha Harkness, so in a way, Agatha's journey down this magical path might also pave the way for Wanda's return. But Agatha could not walk the road alone and needed a coven to help her regain her magic. After a nudge from Rio Vidal, Agatha had begun to peel back the layers of chaos and rediscover her true self, but she was still without her powers, which created a bit of an issue, especially because a deadly group known as the Salem 7 were after her. Desperate to escape Westview's magical grip, Agatha reluctantly agrees to call upon the Witch's Road after Teen makes a pleading case. In episode 2, much of her time is spent gathering potential recruits for her coven. To navigate the most dangerous paths in witchcraft, a coven's combined strength is often more powerful than a single witch's, so Agatha has no choice but to convince anyone with even the slightest magical potential to join her cause. She goes on to form an unlikely alliance with divination expert Lilia Calderu, potions master Jennifer Kale, and protector witch Alice Wu Gulliver. But they still need a 4th Earth witch, so Agatha quickly ropes in a very confused Mrs. Hart, aka Sharon Davis, just in time to complete the summoning circle. Together they begin chanting the ballad to the Witch's Road. Now with 2 trials and 1 death in, the witches are finally exploring the horrors of this road, which really has driven them to face their most dreaded fears. But what exactly is the Witch's Road and how does it play out in the comics? Without wasting another moment, let's get right into it. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
If you're real, then that means...
What is the Witch's Road? In Agatha all along, the Witch's Road is unlocked when the coven comes together and sings the Ballad of the Witch's Road in harmony. Once they do, a magical door opens beneath them, leading to the road itself. By the end of episode 4, we've seen quite a good glimpse of the Witch's Road. It is a dark, forest-like realm that promises to lead our witches through a long, winding path full of surprises and even maybe a few dead ends. In the Marvel Comics, the Witch's Road starts off similarly, but the deeper the characters go, the more it transforms into a mind-bending psychedelic landscape. What's even more intriguing is the potential for Agatha all along to flip a major comic storyline. In the comics, Wanda Maximoff's journey on the Witch's Road leads to Agatha's revival. In the series, though, this twist might just set up Wanda's return to the MCU instead. Now, in more simpler terms, the Witch's Road is a magical dimension that runs parallel to Earth and is accessible only to witches and magic users. It looks a lot like Earth with different biomes and familiar elements, but what makes it unique is that it is filled with pure magical energy and home to various mystical creatures. Time also moves differently there and is much slower than on Earth. For example, if 2 days pass on the Witch's Road, only 6 hours will have gone by on Earth. The Witch's Road is not only the source of all magic and home to mystical entities, but it also serves another important purpose, as it is the afterlife for witches and magic practitioners. Depending on how they live their lives, their souls are sent to one of 2 smaller realms within the Witch's Road. The first is the Witch's Elysium. This is where souls who used magic for good, noble, or selfless purposes end up, and is a form of a witch paradise where they are eternally rewarded for their actions. The second is the Witch's Underworld, especially reserved for those who used magic for evil, selfish, or harmful reasons. This is a nightmarish realm where souls are endlessly tormented by their greatest fears and regrets. The Witch's Road doesn't have a strict hierarchy or a formal society. Its inhabitants, whether they are the souls of mages or native mystical beings, cooperate and support each other, but they don't organize into a structured community. They do, however, hold the belief that the strongest should protect the weakest. Overall, the Witch's Road is governed by the goddess of witchcraft, but the Witch's Elysium is currently overseen by the Ancient One, and the Witch's Underworld is ruled by Lore, an evil version of the Scarlet Witch. The significance of the Witch's Road in Marvel Comics. Just like in the TV show, in the Marvel Comics, the Witch's Road is also a mystical dimension ruled by the goddess of witchcraft, a cosmic entity who serves as the source of magic for witches and warlocks throughout the Marvel Universe. But it is also home to Chaos, a lesser abstract being who works alongside the goddess by helping her use magic to break the rules of reality. Beyond these two, the Witch's Road is filled with monsters, demons, and other creatures that can affect the goddess's power, making the journey through it incredibly dangerous. Those brave enough to take on the trials of the Witch's Road face great risks. But if they make it to the end, they are rewarded with whatever their soul is missing. The Witch's Road is a relatively new addition to the Marvel Comics universe, first introduced in Scarlet Witch issue 3 in 2015, written by James Robinson. In this series, Wanda Maximoff travels the world, solving magical crimes with the help of Agatha's ghost, who had been then dead but had formed a begrudging alliance with Wanda. While investigating a mystical plague in Ireland, Wanda realizes she could track down the villain behind it by using the Witch's Road. Interestingly, both Wanda and Agatha are familiar with the road, even though it had never been mentioned in the comics before. But somehow, they know that only beings with magical powers can enter this mysterious realm. During her adventure, Wanda journeys to the Witch's Road, which is also referred to as Magica, and is a part of the alternate reality known as Earth 16558. While not much else is revealed about the Witch's Road, Agatha mentions that as a ghost, she can enter it on her own, but can also accompany Wanda. She also warns Wanda that time is a vague thing on the road. Weirdly enough, instead of gathering a crew in the comics, all Wanda needed to do was cast a hex, although she admitted that the process always made her feel a bit uneasy. Once she steps through the road, they meet someone who identifies herself as the Scarlet Witch, and it turns out to be none other than a younger version of Wanda's deceased biological mother, Natalia, who once held the mantle of the Scarlet Witch herself. Agatha cautions Wanda against sharing any knowledge of the future with Natalia, as it could change events after her time. Apart from that, different types of magic users may find their powers enhanced or diminished in certain areas of the road. As the comic progresses, we learn that the goddess of witchcraft resides on the Witch's Road alongside a being known as Chaos, who helps her manipulate magic to bend the laws of physical reality. While most of the road resembles a forest, it becomes increasingly abstract and psychedelic as one approaches the goddess's home at the end of the path. The mystical creatures living on the road are also influenced by the goddess's health, because if she's unwell, it affects them too. Eventually, Wanda, Agatha, and Natalia discover that Chaos has betrayed the goddess and launched an attack against her, creating a kind of infection within magic itself. With the help of Wanda's brother, Pietro, aka Quicksilver, the three witches then manage to rescue the goddess, but not without a heavy cost, which comes with Natalia sacrificing her soul in the process. Now, throughout the rest of this volume of Scarlet Witch, Wanda travels in and out of the Witch's Road multiple times, guided by the ghost of Agatha Harkness. As she navigates the road, Wanda's mission later evolves into healing the power of witchcraft, which is seen as a unique form of magic with its own distinct source of energy and power in the Marvel Universe. By the end of her journey, Wanda has not only reclaimed her powers, but also healed the source of witchcraft's magic. She even fully resurrects Agatha Harkness, who later uses magic to regain her youth, although this transformation also leads her down a villainous path. Given that Wanda's comic book adventure on the Witch's Road ended with Agatha's resurrection, could Agatha's journey in the MCU's version of the Witch's Road lead to the return of Elizabeth Olsen as the currently deceased Wanda Maximoff? Because in the MCU, stranger things have happened, and they will probably happen again. How is The Witch's Road in the TV show different from its comic book counterpart? In Agatha All Along, The Witch's Road seems to be a bit more welcoming due to her rocky relationship with Rio Vidal, the Green Witch. Agatha manages to persuade everyone that Mrs. Hart, the mild-mannered boss's wife we met back in WandaVision Episode 1, is actually a Green Witch. Even though Mrs. Hart doesn't have any superpowers, she still plays a crucial role in helping to open the door and enter the road. The teen also finds himself in a similar position, as he is not officially a part of the Coven, yet he still somehow manages to enter the portal. This raises the question of whether the Witch's Road operates under different rules than its comic book counterpart. It is also possible that either the teen or Mrs. Hart has some hidden magical ability that allowed the ritual to succeed, although it has not worked out very well in Sharon's case, who lost her life right after the first trial and was replaced by the Green Witch, Rio Vidal. None of these ever happened in the comics, meaning that the MCU's version of the road has much more flexible rules. Another notable difference is the setting of the Witch's Road itself. In the comics, it functions more like a spiritual journey by conjuring images of significant figures in Wanda's life, such as her mother. But in Agatha All Along, the approach follows a very WandaVision-like pattern, with each episode centered around a different witch and their unique trials. As Agatha explains, all the trials follow that same logic where it is tied to the witch, and so far the first 2 trials have been tied to Jennifer Kale and Alice Wu. In the comics, The Witch's Road brings the Scarlet Witch face to face with her ultimate rival, the Emerald Warlock, who is her polar opposite. However, in Agatha All Along, Agatha and her coven are after glory at the end, which promises them the chance to obtain their deepest desires. For Agatha, that means regaining her powers, while it means different things for others. Ironically, there is one similarity between the 2 different versions of the road. So at the end of the 2nd episode of the show, the coven walks down a spiral staircase leading up to the Witch's Road, and they do so after removing their shoes and walking barefooted on their journey. Nobody knows why they do that, but Scarlet Witch had also taken up her journey through the road on barefoot. Has Agatha really walked the Witch's Road before? So I have a theory about Agatha All Along that could really change the story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe series, and in my head, this one feels too important to overlook. The series has already kicked off with a number of mysteries, like why Ria Vidal can't seem to kill Agatha, or who the hell Teen really is. However, I think there is much more going on beneath the surface. I'm not entirely sure I trust Agatha after the events of the role. I have some concerns about her plans, which makes me a bit anxious about the future of both her character and her coven. In the premiere episodes of Agatha All Along, Agatha claims she has walked the Witch's Road before, but I just don't buy it, because Catherine Ha delivers such a captivating performance. There is a lot to interpret from her reactions. As the coven enters the road, Agatha looks genuinely surprised by everything around her, and when the door closes behind her, sealing the Salem 7 from following, she seems equally confused as the rest of the witches. Each aspect of the Witch's Road's entrance appears new and strange to her, which really makes me wonder if she has ever been down this road before. I started to question Agatha's familiarity with the Witch's Road when Teen began discussing his desire to walk it. Agatha seemed uneasy about the whole idea, which could indicate she had a rough experience there before, but it also felt like she was nervous and unsure of herself. She might know the basics, but there is a big difference between reading about something and actually experiencing it. This feeling intensified when she went to gather her coven. She clearly knew she needed one and how to recruit them, but initially she tries to do it without including a green witch. It took a strong reminder for her to realize that having one is essential. Later, when Agatha brings in Sharon as her substitute green witch, she tries to open the gates to the Witch's Road, but her attempt seems to fall flat. When the Valet doesn't summon the path like it should, Agatha brushes it off, claiming it happened faster the last time. However, we soon discover that her real motive for gathering the coven was to get them angry enough to blast her with their powers so she could steal them. At that moment in time, it seems like Agatha might have never really actually summoned the road before. Instead, she was looking for a shortcut to power herself through theft. Then when the road finally opens, Agatha hesitates to step onto it and appears confused or even surprised when the door slams shut behind her, trapping her and her coven with no way out but forward. Plus, when it comes time for the first trial, Agatha seems hesitant to participate and even tries to avoid it altogether. While the other witches were following the trial's requirement and drinking the wine, she simply dumped hers out. At one point, she even attempted to escape from the house where the trial was happening. If Agatha had actually walked the road before, she would understand that the whole coven needed to be involved in the trial for it to work. An experienced traveler of the Witch's Road would know that you can't just bypass the trials, and her reactions throughout suggests she is in way over her head. On top of all this, there are some finer points to consider. If Agatha had truly walked the road before, she would have already obtained whatever it was she wanted most. So somehow it becomes clear that she doesn't really want to walk down the road this time, but is only there because her coven has chased onto it. Plus, no one seems to know much about her past experiences on the road. There are a few clues about her previous journey, but most of those comments are critical and question the fates of the witches who accompanied her. Somehow, everything so far feels like a desperate attempt to cover up the fact that Agatha has never done this before, and she has no idea what to expect. But the big question is, what exactly did Agatha need the Witch's Road for in the past? If she has traveled it before, it suggests there was something missing in her life that she desperately needed. The Witch's Road doesn't seem like a casual journey, especially since the Salem 7 are after Agatha and her coven in the series. If she had been down that path before, it's odd that she wouldn't share her previous reasons for doing so. And how could I overlook that moment in episode 2 when Lilia Calderu had a vision and shouted, "Save Agatha"? That has to mean something significant, right? Where will the Witch's Road lead Agatha and the Coven? Continuing with the idea of what the Witch's Road in Marvel Comics could lead to in the MCU, like I mentioned before, this alternate reality dimension featured a series of mini-realms like the Witch's Elysium and Witch's Underworld, which serves as the Wicca equivalents of heaven and hell. In this afterlife, there's a clear distinction between white and dark magic. However, there's a heavy price for witches who dabble in the dark arts, and Agatha has faced the consequences of this in her past, particularly during the Salem witch trials, while Wanda Maximoff also experienced the fallout during Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Each realm has its own rulers, and like what I've said before, currently the Witch's Underworld is governed by Lore, an evil variant of the Scarlet Witch, and the nexus being of Reality 955. While it's uncertain whether this could lead to Wanda's return in some form, it definitely makes you think where the show might go next. This is especially significant considering Agatha, who has buried much of her painful past deep within her, and what that could mean for her and her coven. Regardless of whether Wanda comes back, Agatha and her coven face a challenging journey into this realm, which can be both nurturing and dangerous, depending on who is facing the trials. Trials within this road are specifically designed to confront the practitioner's fears, desires, and flaws, making Agatha's coven particularly vulnerable to their own troubled minds and painfully traumatic histories. I think we've already had a taste of that with the first two trials. Plus, if the show's version of the Witch's Road has time-altering abilities, like it does in the comics, it could have a significant impact on storylines that go beyond just the mystical aspects of the MCU. Since time travel and the multiverse are closely connected in the Marvel Universe, the road could serve as a place for time travel or offer a unique experience of time itself. This would make it an essential part of various projects in the multiverse saga, much like the Quantum Realm and the Time Various Authority have been switched. But I think we have a long way to go besides the Coven on the Witch's Road, I wonder. After the 70s rock version of the trial, we will see a jazz version of it. Wouldn't that be fun? But jokes aside, if Teen is indeed Billy Kaplan, as Rio Vidal has ruled out the Nicholas Scratch possibility, I'm quite sure he will want to resurrect his mother at the end of the road. What do you guys think about the road? Let us know about your thoughts and theories in the comment box below.
If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.